Okay, thanks for being here. I've got the chat open on my other screen. So if you want to ask a question during the call, I've got one eye on that, and I'll try and respond to your questions as they come through. Today is all about teaching you how to use AI and specifically how to use prompts on Chat GPT to really revolutionize your teaching. I'm currently the leading teacher of student voice and leadership at University High School in Parkville. And prior to that, I was the head of innovation and curriculum at Paran High School. I'm also a huge fan of AI, and I've been really impressed at what it is able to do in terms of making our lives so much easier in the classroom. So I hope that I can share with you some tips and tricks today that you can start using immediately to make your teaching even better than it already is. So as I flick through the slides, hoping that it works. First of all, I want to acknowledge that today I'm holding my webinar on the lands of the Wurundjeri people, and I want to pay my respects to elders past and present. I also think it's a really important time with about 2 weeks left to the referendum that I tell you that I'm voting yes, and I hope that you are too, and especially that we hold space as educators to have challenging conversations with people about the importance of taking a step in the right direction. So where are we now? I've been thinking about this story a lot, a story about a time traveling man from the 1800s who gets dropped into our world. And he's really perplexed by what he sees when he encounters us in our offices with our iPhones and our Zoom calls. But when he steps into a school, he feels a sense of nostalgia. He feels quite at home. I think maybe in your schools and certainly in our schools, there's still a lot of kids sitting in rows, taking down notes, listening to teachers. Sure, we might have some open plan classrooms and some collaborative learning, but largely it's as though the world outside raced ahead, but education has stayed quite static. I find learners in my school and my classes are often bored because what we are forcing them to do is irrelevant, is dated, is not connected with their interests and the world around them. And I think that AI has the potential to break that situation, to change our schooling and our educational model for the better so that we can see learners who are prepared for the world and enjoy their learning. So the agenda for today, I'm going to focus mainly on prompt engineering, which is how to write effective prompts. I might get people in the chat, if you don't mind, to tell me how much experience you have with using AI. 10, you've had quite a bit of experience using Chat GPT. You feel quite comfortable using the interface and prompts. Down to 1, you haven't used Chat GPT much at all. Maybe don't even know what a prompt is. You can just give me a score in the chat of where you're sitting, and that will allow me to tailor the pace and the meeting to where people are at. As you're typing those scores in, it's really helpful for me. After we talk about writing effective prompts and how we can use those for our educational settings, I'll share with you a cheat sheet that you'll be able to use, hopefully immediately in your educational setting. And then I'll talk about the differences in programs that are available, one that you can pay for versus the one that's free that most of you will have an account for. And I'll talk about some of the plugins you can use for those. And then there's a little nifty feature about custom instructions that helps ChatGPT to be really, really effective and tailored to your needs, and time for questions at the end. If you do have questions along the way, feel free to ask the questions in the chat, or if you feel brave enough to unmute yourself, you're welcome to. So writing a prompt is writing instructions to the AI or to the machine. It's like a chef preparing a recipe for someone else to cook. You are the recipe writer and the AI will cook the meal. So if you give really clear instructions, really good guidance, really good direction, the AI will meet your needs really, really effectively. If you're vague or you provide sort of incomplete instructions, then the AI will give you really vague or incomplete answers. So really good prompts lead to really, really good outputs. And so I'll spend quite a bit of time now showing you how to craft the perfect prompt so that you experience really good output from AI. A really helpful thing to remember is that every conversation you start with AI, no matter what program it is, and we'll be talking about Chat GPT today, it's like a baby that's brand new into the world and it doesn't have any context about anything. So you need to tell it who you are, who you want it to be, what you want it to do, and only then is it ready to help you. As an aside, all of these images that you're seeing throughout the presentation, they've been created with an AI program called Midjourney. So these images a computer has created because I've written it really, really specific prompts in order to get it to create the output that I was looking for. So the quality of these images, I think you'll see, is quite profound, and we can already start thinking about some of the activities we could have young people in our schools doing, or how we could use these images in our classroom. But every AI conversation is without context, and we need to give it the context first of all. So there's 3 steps to writing really effective prompts to getting the output that you want from the AI, and that's the who, the what, and the how. So when you start off, you need to tell AI who you want it to be. Do you want it to be an expert economics teacher? That's what I like to think myself to be. Or do you want it to be an expert school principal, or an expert physiotherapist, or naturopath? Whatever you want it to play the role of, or to give you advice from, you need to tell it who that character is. I saw someone asked Little Red Riding Hood to be rewritten from the perspective of a frat boy. And that story was really funny for that person's family. So you can really ask AI to inhabit any character you've ever dreamt of, from Elon Musk to Barack Obama to Hillary Clinton, whoever you like, and it will inhabit them. Secondly, you need to tell the AI what you want it to do, what its task is. Do you want it to explain how to change a tire on a car? Do you want it to help you plan a term's lessons in economics? Do you want it to write a challenging email to a parent that's responded and is furious? Whatever the task is, you need to tell the AI what that is. And then you need to give it some really clear steps. What steps do you want it to take? That's like the method of the recipe. Don't feel as though you have to take down too many notes if you don't want to. I'm going to be giving you a cheat sheet at the end of the webinar that has these steps on it and some example prompts and things you can use after the call's ended. So first of all, you need to set the context for the AI, and the example prompt that I'll share with you is: you are an expert teacher, lawyer, doctor who's specialized in teaching economics, teaching English, teaching students on the autism spectrum. You decide, but giving it those really clear instructions means that it inhabits the character that you want it to. And so there's some examples there that I've been using at my school. And you change your context depending on the job that you have for AI. Sometimes you're going to want it to be an assessor of work. Sometimes you're going to want it to be a primary school teacher or a high school teacher. And it's important that you give it that context. Second of all, it's really important that you set the task for the AI. So the more action words you can use here, the better result you'll get. So what do you want the AI to make, to do, to create, to list, to think of, to brainstorm, to build? These action words, these verbs provide really, really good guidance to the AI. I'll model a prompt for you in a few minutes that shows you how this can look and the results that you get from it. But really, you can ask AI to do absolutely anything at all. I was talking with a colleague at work about creating a marking guide for a test. I was talking with another colleague about designing a term's work for their new science curriculum. It can do anything. It's phenomenal. Interestingly, some researchers have found that when you ask AI to take a deep breath before it completes a task, they've found that it produces a result that's on average 9% better. So just like we would take a deep breath before commencing an arduous journey or an important task, or maybe even before trying to cook a challenging recipe, AI seems to benefit when we ask it to do the same. So weaving into your prompt the instructions you write for AI to take a deep breath and to complete the task step by step yields really positive responses. Yes.
do you think
I'll just ask people to make sure they're on mute
doing Professor Will be all right tomorrow?
already. That would be great.
Professor Will. Yes. Will it be all right tomorrow?
Yes.
Finally,
Okay.
there we go. Finally, the third step for when you're writing a good prompt is you need to give really, really specific steps to the AI. The robot on the right-hand side of the slide here is cooking a very difficult dinner by the looks of things. And you can imagine that if you told it to put the steak in the pot before it done the onions and the oil, the meal would turn out burnt and charred. So similarly, you need to be really specific. And this is where your human effort comes in. You're programming a robot. And so you need to think, what's step one, what's step two, and so on and so forth. I really like inserting the line, do not move on until I have told you it's okay to move on. It's almost like you're speaking to a teenager or anyone where you want to be really clear, really specific, and leave no room for that ambiguity. So what does this look like in practice? I'm going to be sharing this prompt with you, and there's a lot of text on this slide. So I'll give you a moment just to read through this slide, just while I set up Chat GPT to show you how this works in practice. So in this task, what I'm asking the AI to do is to inhabit the role of a really experienced educator and someone who's super experienced at writing and designing curriculum. And so that's the who. And the task, well, I want it to help me with designing a unit of work for 4 weeks, 20 lessons, 50 minutes a lesson for year 10. Now at our school, we're currently talking about changing the timetable and changing subjects. And so people are going to have to be rewriting curriculum under new parameters. Now, with AI, that task becomes far less daunting. That cognitive load of splitting a year's worth of lessons into 6 months worth of lessons becomes a lot less challenging. So I'm the head of student agency, Student Voice. I think learning's better when students have had their ideas taken into account. And so in this instance, the one that I'll demonstrate with you, I've surveyed the students to capture their preferences and their ideas. And I'm saying to AI, take a deep breath and then follow step by step. First of all, look at my survey data, and then so on and so forth. I'm going to start sharing my screen now onto Google Chrome, and have to move some things around. So this prompt I'll share with you in the cheat sheet that I'll drop into the chat. What you're looking at now is the Chat GPT interface, and what you're seeing is that I've dropped in to Chat GPT the prompt, and I've pressed the green go button. And because I've preloaded this, it's already hopped onto the first step. So it said, all right, let's get going on crafting this unit of work for your year 10 economics students. This is from my year 10s class, and it's the students saying what they'd like to learn about as they're learning about small businesses. So these were all these questions that I collected. You could be doing this in a Google form, or you could even just be doing it on a whiteboard and typing it up yourself. But I've copied all of their responses just then, and I'm now going to paste that into my chat with ChatGPT. It said, please give me your students' responses. Don't need to be super neat. I'm just going to say here, didn't even this, I accidentally pressed enter. So thanks for sharing their responses. And it says this. So what it's done is it's from these 40, 50 questions, it's picked up the key themes and the key ideas that these students are keen to learn about. And you can imagine from a human point of view, to do this would take me ages to figure out what it is that these common threads are. And it's done that for me straight away. And then what it's done is it started to map out the learning journey in weeks, week 1, week 2. And I think I asked for a 4-week learning outcome. And again, it said awaiting your review and approval to proceed with the next step. And if I'm happy with those steps, I can go on. But if I think that looks a bit boring, I can say so, like that's a bit boring, make it more engaging. And you can have these really, really honest chats with ChatGPT, and it will alter them. So it's important that if you're not happy with ChatGPT, you give that really firm and clear feedback, like we would if we were giving feedback to a student, I suppose, or a colleague. And now it's made the headings a bit more exciting, maybe more appropriate for 15-year-old students, and maybe more in line with my learners if I know that they like particular things, they're more hands-on, or other things excite them. And then it's saying, does this revamped approach resonate with you? Proceed to the next step. Yes, proceed. So you're sort of speaking to it as though it's a subordinate, that it's really a machine that's doing your work for you. I'd asked it to create an article and a YouTube video per lesson, something that was less than 5 minutes or less than 700 words. And what it's going to do now is race away and do that, and also provide comprehension questions and application questions per resource. So you can imagine, and it's also, I forgot, it's also making an exit ticket too. So these things that would take us as teachers so long to do for one lesson, it's doing in seconds for 4 weeks of work. So really, really powerful in terms of what ChatGPT can do for you. If anyone has any questions about what they've just seen, or if you're curious to ask me to elaborate on something, feel free to jump into the chat, or to unmute yourself if you feel brave enough. So I really think that AI has this ability to do what we would love to be able to do. We cannot differentiate for every student in our care every day, every lesson, but AI can, and it can do it now. And that's incredibly exciting to me, that if a student has particular passions, interests, or learning challenges, AI can tailor the work for them. I might at this point share in the chat the prompt cheat sheet that I've created, so that you can have some of these prompts to play around with if you're feeling more advanced and you're wanting to run away and to try some of them. So that'll just appear in the chat as a PDF document in a second that you can download to your devices. Just going to start resharing my screen. Okay, so we now have a personalized tutor for every single student. I've shared this prompt with you, and I've shared this prompt with my students. It's a prompt that asks the AI to take the role of a really expert and specialized tutor. In this case, for high school students, I'm asking it to stay calm and patient, and I'm asking it to follow my instructions step by step. I'll run this prompt for you because for me, this is a prompt that I find to be really profound, and my students have told me that it's incredibly rewarding for them, and that they've had great success in using it and in it tailoring teaching and to their unique interests. So it's saying, what subject would I like help with? And I'm going to say I want some help with, I'm going to use economics because that's the subject that I teach. And I'll just zoom it in a little bit. Great choice. What concept would I like to delve into? One of the really challenging things we talk about is aggregate demand policies. Don't worry if you don't know anything about this. It's not really important. Excellent topic. Before we get going, what are your hobbies and interests? So I've got some boys that I have had challenges with this year in engaging them, but I know actually they love basketball probably more than they love soccer. So I tell it that I like basketball, and what it will do is then create some tailored teaching about aggregate demand policies, but using the metaphor of basketball. Now, I could have said horse riding, I could have said robotics, I could have said surfing, and it would have produced an entirely different response. And I could even say that now. I actually hate basketball, make it about horses. And it will apologize, and it will make that change for what the students asked of it. So we know as teachers that we can differentiate in this way. And if we had 5 students and we've had all the time in the world, we could do this. But the reality is that we don't. But AI can make this unique approach for every student in our care already. And you could say that you had an EAL background. You could say that you had autism, and it would respond appropriately for that. It'll teach them, it'll ask them questions, it'll give them test preparation and summary, all at their unique passion and sort of area of need. So that prompt is in the cheat sheet that I've shared with you too. Again, jump in at any point if you have any questions along the way. So I was at this point going to give you a chance to write your own prompts, to take a deep breath and to have a go at the technology. And you're welcome to, but I'm just sort of thinking, in order to get through some of the content that I have, maybe this is something that you'd like to do in your own time. You're welcome to write a prompt and drop it into the chat here so that I can give you some feedback, or you can email me at any time. But when you first interact with Chat GPT, follow the who, the what, and the how. Spend time being really prescriptive, thinking through step by step. If you're wondering on the chat of Chat GPT how you get onto a new line without sending the prompt for processing or running, hold down the shift key as you press enter, and that will get you onto a new line. So when you're writing your step by step, 1 dot shift enter, 2 dot shift enter. That'll help you to write your prompt out. I'd also really encourage you to be really digitally resilient. My mum tells a fantastic story about how she had a PD at her school where they were encouraged to be resilient when it comes to technology. If ChatGPT doesn't respond as you had hoped it would, don't worry. Just ask it to change its output. So be resilient, tell it to be more exciting, tell it to be more formal, tell it to produce different resources or provide you with different links. If it's not giving you, if it's burning the meal, don't panic, just teach it how to cook a different way, and you'll get a nicely cooked steak at the end of the process. But it can be hard to write recipes, and we know that some recipe books are better than others. So we can actually use AI to help us to improve the prompts that we write it. So what we do in this instance is, and I've shared this in the cheat sheet, is that we ask AI to help us. We say that it's a really good prompt writer. We want it to review a prompt and to improve a prompt. And we want to actually rewrite our prompt for us so that it leads to a better output. And then you drop in your prompt. So if you think your prompt's a bit dodgy, if you're not sure if it's saying what you want it to say, you can use this little hack, this little cheat, and AI will in fact make your prompt better for you really quickly. And I use this a lot because sometimes, even though I've gone through step by step, the results I'm getting isn't quite right. And I'll ask AI to improve my prompt and then run it again with that improved messaging. And I find the output is much better. Because I suppose it's like the robot is writing it in robot language so that it produces a really, really effective response. So that's a nice help for you when you're writing your prompts. Again, this has been shared on your cheat sheet, but there's been some fantastic work done around the world already where we have these fantastic prompts that have been written by educators. And if we think about some of the things that we need to do in schools, from designing syllabus, units, project-based learning, rubrics, these challenging things that we would often sit down and scratch our head, this website has prompts that we can use and fill in the gaps. And you can change this to whatever you would like it to be. You could have a 6-point scale, 3-point scale. You can imagine how long it takes to design new rubrics for new assessments. Again, with a website like this, with prompts like this, those tasks that used to take us so long are now really, really quick. Even can help us in writing emails to parents or colleagues when we're time poor. Sometimes we agonize over the words we put into an email to a parent, and AI can do the heavy lifting for us, and then we can just iron out parts that we'd like to. So that's AI for education, and that's shared with you on your cheat sheet. There's some really, really great prompts there that you can use in your work tomorrow. I'm going through at a bit of a pace. If people want me to slow down or to take more time explaining things, feel free to ask me to do that. That's the end of the first section, which was about how to write really, really good prompts, really effective prompts. And I would say that practice makes perfect. The first prompts you write, just like the first souffle you make, it won't rise or might fall. Don't give up. Keep trying, keep tweaking. Ask AI to help you improve what you're writing, and you'll get really, really positive responses. Just give a final chance for any questions in particular about prompt writing before we move on to talking about Chat GPT-4. So when you log into OpenAI and you sign in with your Google account, you get access to what's called Chat GPT 3.5. You can sign up for US $20 a month, and that gets you access to a program that's 10 times more advanced, 10 times faster, more creative, more nuanced, and it's far better than the free version. And for me, it's the best $20 a month I've ever spent. In order to sign up for Chat GPT-4, you just need to, when you start a new chat, yours will be in this 3.5 version. And if you click on GPT-4, it'll ask you to sign up at $20 a month. You can cancel anytime. I feel like I'm on the morning show offering you some steak knives or some sort of subscription, but it really is worth every single penny. So why is it much better? Well, it creates much better outputs, but also it allows you to use things called plugins, and plugins are like apps on an iPhone. So think when you want to travel in anywhere, you use Google Maps. If you want to find a recipe, you might use a different app for that, and so on and so forth. So ChatGPT-4 has these apps or these plugins, and that allows it to do some really amazing things, like delve into scientific papers or trawl the internet for up-to-date information, to scan YouTube for anything at all, to do maths, incredibly challenging maths using Wolfram, which is one of the world's most powerful sort of maths programs. These plugins are all free once you've signed up to Chat GPT-4. So it's really going to supercharge your experience and create much, much better outputs. I'll show you how to add some plugins to Chat GPT-4 in case you choose to sign up. But first of all, I'll talk about what are some of the best ones for an educational setting. You may have heard on the news that Chat GPT is limited by what it can search. It's limited up to 2021 at the moment in Australia. For other users around the world, they've just allowed ChatGPT, the free one, to scan the internet. For us and other places, we still have to pay to this ChatGPT-4 version if we want it to be able to search the internet in real time. And so if we want it to do that, we need to add some of these plugins to it. And two of the best plugins for searching the internet are this Keymate plugin and Link Reader. They allow you to search any part of the internet. And that's amazing when you want to find inspirational videos or exciting things for students to read in class. It's trawling every single news website in the world at once. So whereas previously you might have read through The Age or The Guardian before planning a lesson, now this is scanning through, thousands of the world's papers to bring you the most informative and interesting topics for your students. I briefly mentioned Wolfram before, which is amazing at writing maths and solving maths problems. I tested this with a senior maths teacher at our school, and he was blown away with its ability to solve maths in a really clear-cut way that was really accurate and in line with the study design that he's teaching. We can also ask it to create documents for us, Word documents, PDFs, even PowerPoint slides. With the right instructions and asking it to use the right app, it will create those things for you that used to take a lot of time. And for any uni students or even some of our more senior students, if you want to be searching academic articles, Scholar AI allows you to do that. There are thousands of plugins. They're free, and by going to whatplugin.ai, you can, and that's again on your cheat sheet that I provided you in the chat, you can search through different options. Different options would be appropriate for different people, depending on your educational setting. So I'll show you how to add them in a moment, and then I'll demonstrate them working. But you need to think about ahead of time, what plugins do you need? Each time you start a chat with Chat GPT, you need to set the context, the who, the what, and the steps. But you also need to decide when you're using the paid version, what apps are you going to use? Am I going to be searching the internet? Am I going to be ultimately creating a PowerPoint with this request that I'm making of it? Do I want it to make me a diagram, or do I want it to search academic papers? So thinking ahead of time, what 3 plugins, because you can only choose 3 at the moment, do you need for this task? Which one will the robot need to draw on to create that dish? Will it need the blowtorch for the top of the creme brulee, or would it be much better off with a whisk? So I'll demonstrate how to add plugins by using one of these prompts that I've designed, which is when I'd watched the World Cup with my family, and I knew that my students had all been up late watching the World Cup, and the Premier of our state had made the decision to scrap the Commonwealth Games, and that was a decision made because we're in too much debt and the Commonwealth Games is going to cost too much. So I wanted to create a lesson with about 4 minutes to spare. I got into work a bit late, that the students would find really interesting. And so I wanted ChatGPT-4 to help me to create a lesson really quickly that had articles looking at the pros and cons of hosting an Olympic Games. And I had some students who couldn't really read that well, and some that really needed stretching. So I needed that differentiation piece. I needed articles of different difficulty. And I also wanted comprehension questions and application questions to stretch out that thinking. And also, just in case I was caught off guard, I wanted solutions to those questions. And so I got ChatGPT to do all of that and turn it into a Word document for me. So I'll model how that prompt works in a moment, but perhaps at this point you're like, I want to try this out myself. Show me how I can add these plugins to my own ChatGPT. So I'll show you how to do that now. If you have made the decision to sign up for ChatGPT-4, and you've gone through with the subscription process, down next to your name, there's 3 little gray dots that you can click on. And those 3 little gray dots will pop up this thing that says settings and beta with a little cog. When you click on settings and beta, you go to beta features, the second option, and you need to allow it to do a few things. One thing that I was mentioning before is that paid users now can be searching the internet with Bing. So Bing's like what Google was, but Bing's actually a bit better now because Bing is powered by AI, by ChatGPT-4. Microsoft owns Bing, and Microsoft purchased ChatGPT and ChatGPT-4. So searches on Bing are now powered by AI. And so you can ask for that to be happening all within this program. We're talking about plugins. You need to enable them in order to use them. There's some other features there that I'm not going to delve into in today's webinar, but the third option there about advanced data analytics is fantastic if you're doing anything with a spreadsheet. That will allow it to read and compute and to speak with any spreadsheet you have. So we've enabled plugins, and then we need to click on the little ChatGPT-4 and then down onto our puzzle piece that says plugins on it. When we're there, we'll get this little drop down, and we can choose from a range of plugins Now, I've added a lot to my interface because these are ones that I commonly use. I want it to be able to make slideshows. I want it to make diagrams. I want it to read PDFs. I want it to use Wikipedia. If you go to plugin store, these are all free, and these are the most popular ones that are available worldwide. And you can choose from a range of apps, just like when you're on the App Store on your iPhone or Android. You can choose a range of programs that help you to plan your holiday, maybe not so useful for the classroom, to make a Google Sheet. These are really, really fun tools, different equipment that you can use to add to your AI. And there's hundreds of them, and there's new ones being published every day. So you choose the programs that you want in order for it to produce the output that you're looking for. And I'm just going to show you what happens when I run that prompt that I wrote about the Commonwealth Games and see if that behaves. So hopefully it whizzes away, and it's going to be searching the internet using one of the plugins. So Link Reader was one of the plugins that I'd activated, and I can see that it's used that to find 3 articles, and it's found my easy reading level, oops, and the moderate, and the challenging. So it's got me 3 links to 3 different articles. And that one's interesting. That's from the Encyclopedia Britannica, which we'd probably consider to be quite an easy reading level. So that's great. And then it's given me my comprehension questions and suggested solutions, and some application questions. So you can imagine how long this would take if you could even be bothered doing this for a lesson that had just kind of come to you the night before when you were watching the soccer game. It says, do you want to make any changes? Or are you happy before we proceed? And I can just say, all good, make the doc. And hopefully what it will do is open up a new plugin, which is Doc Maker. And that'll whiz away and make a document for me that's ready to print or ready to add to Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, or anything that you wish. It's still learning a lot. AI is never going to be as bad as it is now. So it sort of looks magic what we're seeing now, but it's never going to be any worse than this. It's always going to be smarter, faster, and be able to do more. We can sort of click on to things and see what's happening in the back end, and it's whizzing away, and it sort of looks like the matrix or computer code. It's still slow at doing some things. So make a coffee while it's doing this work for you. And when you come back, it says you can download the Word document or review it at the link below. There's still a little bit of work I find to do perhaps in making it look pretty. It looks quite functional. And for some of us, if we're not that familiar with using technology, we might think this is brilliant, and it's really good. I really am looking forward to when it's getting images in there for us. It's putting the YouTube videos in, and that won't be far away. Up the top, I can edit it in Google Docs. I can export it to my Google Drive. I can download it, and so on and so forth. So that was a really good recipe that's produced me a really delicious meal that's ready for me to take into class and use with my students, and a heap less effort than what it would have taken previously. Did anyone have any questions about plugins or things that they've seen in the last couple of minutes? Feel free to send me any emails at any time if you are experimenting later. So moving on to the final part of the webinar. Thanks, Bella, for being here. Looking forward to you trying this out with the new study design and seeing how it goes. The final part of the webinar, final sort of 5 minutes or so before I open to some Q&A, is what's called custom instructions. And essentially that is teaching ChatGPT some things about you so that it always behaves in a certain way. Remember that I mentioned that every conversation with AI is like a baby with no idea of any context. It's quite time consuming every time to write, I'm an economics teacher. I want you to design lessons for 12 to 17-year-olds. I want you to use professional tone. That takes time. And so what custom instructions allows you to do is to tell ChatGPT some of this stuff ahead of time. And it remembers this about you. Each time you start a new chat, each time you start writing a new prompt, it's remembering these things that you told it. So it's really personalized. It understands where you work and what you're trying to do with AI. And so it saves you time because maybe you don't have to clarify or rephrase. You're not experiencing that as many errors with it because it gets who you are and what you're trying to do with your prompts. I've shared in the cheat sheet some examples of some custom instructions. And what you can do is, again, I'll hop into my Chat GPT, and when you want to add custom instructions, you go to the 3 dots again, down next to your name, and it's the second option, custom instructions. And it says, I'll try and zoom it in a bit. Yeah, nice. That's for the second bit, I think. It says, what would you like ChatGPT to know about you to provide better responses? So you could say things like, I'm a teacher of economics in Australia. You can choose how much you want to tell it about you. I tend to just, and I cleared this out because I wanted ChatGPT to respond without any context with some of those prompts that I was showing you so that it behaved in a certain way. But most of the time in here, I'll have some instructions about who I am and what I'm using it for. And then I always want ChatGPT to respond in certain ways. And I think for some reason, its little clues of what to tell it aren't showing up. But it says, for how do you want it to respond? And I'll try and zoom it in. I might lose it. It says, how formal or casual should ChatGPT be? How long or short should responses be? How should you want to be addressed? And should it have opinions or remain neutral? So it's in those custom instructions, 3 dots, custom instructions, that you can choose to tell ChatGPT some information about you so that it responds in a really effective way for your needs each and every time. And that'll save you a lot of energy. So these are some of the questions. And again, I've shared these in the cheat sheet with you. If you answer these questions in how should ChatGPT respond, these questions lead to the AI giving you a really tailored experience. So they're in the cheat sheet. For most of us, perhaps we're planning lessons. We want it to be professional. We want it to be creative. We want it to be warm. Try and get it to mirror how you are as a teacher, and then you'll find that it starts to mimic your voice and requires less adjusting because it sounds like you. And so if you're, for example, giving students feedback for their work, and I might model that prompt if we have time at the end, you can get ChatGPT to mark work for you, and you can get it to respond like you if you teach it that you're relaxed, that you're approachable, or are you stern and strict. It will learn about you and cater appropriately. You've got some examples, this one as well, in the cheat sheet, and you've also got the ones that I tend to paste in for me. So custom instructions, that'll give you a more personalized experience, a greater understanding of your context, and it will lead to more efficiency, saving you even more time, because what it produces for you first time, that souffle is going to rise really, really well. So coming to the end of the presentation, in closing, I think that deep down, most of us are working in schools that look like the left-hand side image, where students are bored and they're either absent, literally, or mentally, and maybe they're acting up as a result. Some of my year 10s were telling me the other day that school to them just doesn't feel relevant. It's not interesting. And we could say, yeah, well, that's just 15-year-olds, that's just 16-year-olds. But I think deep down, we see that the world outside of the classroom is very, very different to the one that we are having students often experience inside the classroom. It's getting harder, and many teachers are leaving. I wonder how relevant our curriculum is to students' experiences and aspirations, and AI can help us to make it more aspirational. Maybe AI can make it more like the image on the right-hand side, where we see a traditional classroom transformed into a really personalized and meaningful journey where students are following their passions with the help of an AI tutor, and us guiding the journey of each of their individual paths, and that being the skill and the interpersonal abilities that we bring. So I hope as we look forward to the future of education, we can think about how we can co-create these really, really enriching and impactful learning experiences with AI. And I hope that today I've helped you to start or continue your journey of using AI to unlock the future of education. So thanks for being here. We've got a chance now to ask me any questions that you would like to. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today and you'd like me to speak with your school and some of your colleagues, I'd love for you to get in touch so we can talk about how I can tailor a session that's appropriate for your school and for your context. There's many different apps and programs that involve AI that I'd love to discuss with you that can revolutionize your context. I'm presenting at a conference in Melbourne next year, the National Education Summit. So I'd love to see you there. That's a summit that's going to be focused on AI and how that's revolutionizing everything that we are doing. If you're interested in how the images were created, that's an example of a mid-journey prompt that shows you what I said to the AI in order for it to create the image. Nick, go for it. I see you've got a question.
Oh yeah, hey Bushy, it's really good. Really enjoying it so far. I think it's a really exciting phase that we're going through, but there might be some other teachers that might be quite tentative to the AI. How might you approach, say, those teachers that might be thinking that it's not proper practice or might be tentative to use it in their classes?
Yeah, I think if teachers are attentive to use it, they're sort of ignoring the reality that AI is in every classroom, that our students are really adept at using it. And if they're not, if teachers aren't or students aren't learning it, they're not being prepared for the real world. You know, I'm seeing schools like Westbourne Grammar really privilege and focus AI learning and digital literacy because they recognize that if students don't have these skills, they're not prepared for the workplace. I see graphic designers upskilling and learning how to control AI so that they can produce more beautiful work. So these digital literacy skills, these AI skills, we're hindering our students if we don't teach them how to harness them. The fear that students are using them to cheat or to write essays for them, that's founded, but we need to change and reimagine what assessment looks like. The assessment bodies will very, very soon have to be shifting their focus to make them far more relevant. So to hesitant educators, I would say I understand why you're hesitant, that things are shifting, the world feels like it's moving quickly, and it is, but we can all learn and we can adapt into this new paradigm that ultimately, I hope, results in a more rewarding experience for us all. In the chat, I've had a question asking, do I have the students on Chat GPT and I give them a prompt? Yes, I do. And they're often my little guinea pigs trialing new apps or new programs or new prompts. And they give me feedback about how well they're working or how well they're not working. Most recently, I built a chat bot that was an economics teacher. I sort of put all of my economics knowledge into it, and they can ask it questions as though they were asking me. And the students had a lot of fun with trying to break it by asking it who was the best, Michael Jordan or LeBron James, and it directed them back to their economics studies. So I find that the students are really happy to try and test these prompts because they see that the value and the individualization that they can provide. So I'm happy to stay on the line for a little bit longer, but if you would like to head off, you're more than welcome to. I really appreciate you making the time on a Wednesday evening. And if you want to get in touch about a PD or just about anything you've heard, or if you'd like to be up to date with new ideas and new developments in AI, I'd love to hear from you. And I'm going to be sending out a bit of a newsletter every now and then, if you'd like to receive that, so that you can keep abreast of this transformation in education. Have a beautiful evening, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the future.